Hi, welcome back or welcome to my channel if you're new. My name is Laura. Hi, hello, welcome. Today we are at a downward angle because we are doing a BYOP and I really want to dupe the vibes and keep my palette assembled in those vibes for the next couple of weeks, and I really want to dupe the vibes of the 𝙍𝙬𝙑𝙨 Hella palette. It is so pretty, but when I look at the swatches, I know I have these shades in my collection, but I kind of want to put a twist on it and maybe make this a little bit more special with like more special shades, because I do have all of these beautiful Clionadh things, but I do have all of these wonderful, just incredible shades over here as well. First, show you the palette from the last month. So you'll see a clip of the palette go up now. This is what the palette is looking like today. I have definitely some wear and tear in these shades, which is always really exciting. That's always the goal with these BYOPs. I am also going to be upgrading the size of my palette in this BYOP because the Helaween palette is 16 shades. I do just need a larger palette to hold them in, and I figured I love this palette. It's so stinking pretty and it has a gigantic mirror in it. So we are going to be duping the vibes of the Hella palette, and then I will be like funneling in my Pan Those eyeshadow shades afterward, later on, not in this video. But I'm gonna just move a palette to the side. We're gonna start off with matte shades first, I think. Okay, so I have now I have another accessory in the mix. I have the Hella palette pulled up over here. So let's just go shade by shade, I guess. And we'll start with that beautiful like light yellow color. And this one's nice because I can definitely fit a Pan Those eyeshadow shade into that. And I'm going to go with this guy here, which is Aziza. It's just a super, super light yellow gold kind of shade. Then we go to like a pretty, like a marigold kind of mustard shade. And I am not sure if I want this guy here, which is an NBA Cosmetics shade, or this guy here, which I think is a Dandylions Cosmetics shade. So let me swatch those out. This is the NBA Cosmetics, and this is the Dandylions. Ooh, yeah, I want this Dandylions shade because it's a little deeper. This one probably could get me through too, but I think there's just something in this one. Next is a fairly like pretty yellow gold, like definitely more yellow, and I'm thinking either this guy here, which is a Glaminatrix shade. Ooh, but I also have my Clionadh shades. I only wanted to focus on mattes. Okay. Okay, let me take a time out. The next shade is a dark like chocolatey brown, and I really only have one in my stash. I'm just gonna pull this guy, which is Chocolat from the Juvia's Place Douce palette, and it's almost got a little bit of like purpley warmth to it, but I think it's gonna actually go really well with the rest of the palette. So I'm gonna pull that guy in. So we skipped a spot for one shade. After that matte shade, the next shade is just a matte nude. I'm going to pull this guy in just because it's the only single shade that's like a super light nude, but I probably won't use this much. I'll probably only use my deck of panning, but we'll pull this guy in case I only want to do a look using my singles like this BYOP. This will be good. So that guy is going in. And then we have a beautiful like orange, and it looks like a pretty true to color kind of orange. And I have two beautiful oranges right over here. I have this one that's a little bit lighter and brighter. And then I have this guy here, which is just slightly like richer and more of that like orange. Ooh. Let's go with this like darker one because I have a shade in my Project Level Up that's a super bright neon orange. Already, like, even if this was just a 5-pan, this would be really pretty. Moving on to the red, I'm actually going to pull a shade from my Project Level Up palette because I'm working on a red. I am working on the freaking red in this one, I decided. So I'm going to pull the red from there, but the shade is this guy here. This is Game Over from the VR Neon palette. It's a lot brighter than I feel like the Hella palette is calling for, but I also feel like this is what I really want to bring in right now to use. There is a matte mint kind of shade in the palette, and this just isn't quite light enough. So I am going to pull from a Natasha Denona palette. I immediately thought of my Natasha Denona Retro Glam palette for the that like minty, matte minty kind of shade. So I wanted to pull a shade from this guy, and I swatched the two like matte mint shades out, these guys here. And I'm going to go with this lighter toned one right here that's like closer to my digits. So yeah, this guy right here is this guy here. It's the shade Fringe from the Retro Glam palette. I'm going to skip the next two shades because they're both like shimmer kind of shades, and I want to really lean into my Clionadh shades for the bulk of those. But we have a like burgundy kind of shade next, and that's really pretty, and I don't actually have that many of that kind of shade in my singles. I know I have them in palettes, so I'm not like concerned about it, but I'm gonna swatch these two here just to see if maybe they'd fit the bill a little bit. I kind of like this one, but I like this shade for one that's further down in the palette. That one's pretty, but it doesn't really go with what that shade is. I'm thinking Safari is going to have the shade in the right tone that I'm looking for. So I'm thinking this guy here, Masai, might be it. It's a little purpley. I have two more matte shades to select from, and there's only really one that I think is going to fit the bill from this assortment of my singles, so I'm going to pull that right now, and then we're going to switch to like my Natasha Denona palettes for the last one. So we're going to go to the last shade, which is that kind of closer to mid-tone. It's still like a deeper burgundy. It's almost like a really deep mauve. I'm thinking this guy here is actually going to be pretty good for that. Yeah, so I'm going to pull this guy here. I swatched it when I was trying to find that other burgundy shade, and it was a little too light. I think it's going to be good for that one. This is Shake It Up by Colourpop. We have the shimmers left. I'm so excited. Okay, then I'm going to close this. The last matte shade, it actually goes right here. It's the like really army green, like olive green. I thought that could come from the Natasha Denona Zendo palette, and was thinking this guy, but now that I'm looking at it, this is not quite the right shade that I was looking for. It's not quite the tone of green. So then I was thinking maybe more from my Safari palette, the shade Savannah, which I actually think is going to be perfect. So I'm going to pull Savannah out from this. Then we are going to bring my Clionadh shades back out, and we are going to pick those beauties and set them in this. I'm so excited. First thing, I know I have something in my Project Pans that is a mint green. So I will have to put this in for that shade, this guy here. This is the shade Mojito. It's in my year-long Project Pan, and I've been really trying to use it without much success. So maybe if I throw it in this, I will be more inspired to use that shade. All right, now we can pick all of these wonderful Clionadh shades. And actually, the first thing I want to do is not pick any of these Clionadh shades because I don't see any like true like yellow kind of shades that I really want to use. So I'm thinking either Chandelier, which is this guy here. It's not quite yellow. It's definitely like leans more blue. I have this here, which is Chick from Dandylions Cosmetics, which was kind of my initial thought. But then I have these two Pretties for Your Face shades down here. One is X-Rays and one is Flare. This is hard to pick. It's definitely going to be one of these three, and what I think I'm going to do is bring in Flare. And I'm doing that because I think that that will kind of tie and bridge some of like the gap where the yellow doesn't really fit, or like where the mint doesn't really fit with the rest of the palette. So that's the first row completely done in my Hella dupe. Then I have this shade right here, which is kind of like a satiny orange bronze kind of shade. And I don't really know what I want to use for that. Like exactly what the Hella is, but I think that that's going to be really pretty, and I think that that's going to just be a little bit different from that just like really slight duochrome. Plus this also again has some of that mint tone to it, so I think it's going to really lean well to those mint tones, and it'll let me kind of do really warm outer crease work and then do inner corner or like inner lid shades that are kind of in this realm. And I really like those looks personally. We have a red, like a darker red kind of shade to add in, and I just was reminded to myself that I forgot I'm trying to finish a shade off. So I'm going to roll this in because it's going to give me like very similar vibes, but I want to finish this sucker off at some point this year. So she has to roll in. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. This is the Rosewater Elf Quad. This is a shade 3 from that quad. It's definitely different from what's in the Hella palette. It's more cool toned, but I think since I have these berries in like this like deep mauve, I will want to reach for a shade like that here and there to wear to work. The next shade is a dark green, and while I don't have anything exactly like that from Clionadh, I am going to pull in my Gargoyle shade here. This was very much inspired from when I watched Sophie Alexandra's Swatch My Stash. I have not been interested in the jeweled multichromes because I know they're going to be a little bit too deep for me to want to wear on the regular, but she swatched the shade Gargoyle and I knew I could not be without it. So I ended up picking this up, and it's a shade that really, really intimidates the living heck out of me. And that's exactly why I want to bring it in to this dupe. So it's definitely out of my comfort zone for sure, but it's so pretty. Oh, I'm super excited about it. I'm super nervous. And then the last shade is kind of like a silver taupe kind of shade, and I think this might actually fit my other remaining shade from my Pan Those eyeshadows, which it kind of does. So I am going to put that in there. I didn't expect my Pan Those eyeshadow shades to fit into this as well as they did, but this is my dupe of the Hella palette. Let me just swatch this bad boy out for you. I'm so sorry for the awkward swatch angle. There's a limited amount of space, but that is the dupe from the Hella palette. I am so excited to dive into this. This like warm, super just yummy, warm late summer, early autumn to this like grungy lower half for like the colder months of the season. I'm so ready and pumped to use this. In fact, I think I'm just gonna really quick take you along with just a quick eye look using this dupe Hella palette.
Bandit. Bandit. Come here. Come here. Come here.